Good night, everybody, and we are here for another philosophy coming to you today. Today's philosophy is going to be about Mesopotamia, and I'll say civilization right here. Mesopotamia is part of the Greek, ancient Mesopotamia, as far as we have it. So we'll talk to you more about it, and so we can put up. I'm feeling kind of really lonely here, so let's put on the music and then we'll get started, people. Ancient Greek. Mesopotamia is probably from the Western Asia, from the Greek meaning. It's part of Greeks. Never noticed. Ancient Mesopotamia. Western Asia.
Minutes and seconds. They tamed nature and built gigantic cities. They loved culture and the arts. Their caravan. They tamed nature and built gigantic cities. They loved culture and the arts. Their caravans crossed the desert, opening up the first trade routes. Their stories inspired our founding myths, and their memory lives on in the Old Testament. They wrote the history of the birth pangs of mankind. Yet
I thought this was the
4,000
Greek.
years ago, this brilliant civilization died
So
out.
we're gonna watch the
For a long
Peloponnesian
time,
War as well.
its very existence
Guys.
remained a
But this
mystery.
is ancient Mesopotamia. Right. This is a position war. Or keep reading. It says here. But we're gonna go and check out what happened at the Peloponnesian War this time. Because I'm still reading about the ancient Mesopotamia. Alright guys. So we're gonna find out what happened. So it's gonna be explained here. So did the Spartans beat the Athens? Something like this really have happened. This was back in ancient war times. Ancient warfare.
Hey guys, this is Jerry. So, picture this is 431 BC. So this is more than 400 years before Christ was born. This was before the Roman Empire. This was before Carthage. Hey guys, this is Jerry. So, picture this is 431 BC. So this is more than 400 years before Christ was born. This was before the Roman Empire. This was before Carthage. And what we have here in the Mediterranean that we're going to explore today is a conflict between the two superpowers. So we have Athens and its allies versus Sparta and its allies. Athens and its allies were called So we have Athens and allies versus Sparta and its allies. Athens and its allies were called the Dalian League, and Sparta and its allies were called the Peloponnesian League. Now, if you think about what war you've probably heard about, maybe this will ring a bell, the Peloponnesian War. What does Peloponnesia stand for? Now you know. It's what the Spartans called
similar to Achilles.
them and their allies. So they were the Peloponnesian League. So 431 BC. I have a little map here. You can kind of see a little bit what the balance of power was. And you can see at this point, Athens had
and Persian. So it's similar to like that, guys. I made something like that on the Kratos marathon and the God of War marathon.
A lot more territory than the Spartans and its allies.
On record survival.
To explain why Athens, at the start, right, it seems like Athens ahead. So let's look at why Athens is ahead. This is a map
between the backwards.
If any of you have seen 300,
the movie, oh yeah, 300. Of course. I've seen it.
This is Sparta. So about 100. Look at why Athens is ahead. This is a map. If any of you have seen 300, remember, this is Sparta. So about 100 years before, right? The Persians, who are the people here, they've launched 2 invasions of the Greek. Everyone knows about 300, where the Spartans on the last day made their hero.
Greek mythology.
Balance of power was, and you can see at this point, Athens had a lot more territory than the Spartans and its allies. And to explain why Athens, at the start, right, it seems like Athens ahead. So let's look at why Athens was ahead. This is a map. If any of you have seen 300, remember, this is Sparta. So about 100 years before, right, the Persians, who are the people here, they've launched 2 invasions of the Greek. Everyone knows about 300, where the Spartans on the last day made their heroic stand so the rest of the Greek army could retreat. The sequel to 300, The Rise of the Empire, I believe it's called, basically completely decided to not give credit to the Athenians. If you remember the ending of the sequel to 300, the Spartans came and saved the Athenians, which is complete bullshit. But what happened was, there's a little city here called Salamis.
So watch how he was saying about the Spartans. We'll take a look at his videos again, but we're gonna check out Mesopotamia right now. Right? We're gonna read about Mesopotamia, what happened, and also the ancient civilizations. I was gonna start to the second one because it looks like he was kind of a little bit messy right there. You see, can't even read that piece of crap. Right. We're gonna start right there in the second paragraph. The Assyrians and the Achaeans, including the Assyrians and the Babylonians, dominated Mesopotamia from the beginning of the writing history. C. 31,000 BC. In the falling of the Babylonian in 539 BC, when it was occurred by the Hyksos Empire. It fell in the Alexander the Great in 332 BC, and after his death, it became part of the Greek Seleucid Empire. Around 150 BC, Mesopotamia was under control of the Parthian Empire. Mesopotamia became the battleground between the Romans and the Parthians, with western parts of Mesopotamia coming under Roman control. In the AD 226, in the eastern regions of Mesopotamia fell in the solid Persians. The division of Mesopotamia between Roman and from AD 395, and the Sogdian Empire lasted until the 7th century. Muslim conquest of Persia and the Southern Empire, and Muslim conquest of the Levant from the Nobisites, and number of primary Neo-Assyrian and Christianity Mesopotamian states existed between the 1st century BC and the 3rd century AD, including Abram and Olson and Hydra. Mesopotamia is the site of the earliest developments of the Neolithic Revolution from around 10,000 BC. It has been identified and having inspired some of the most important developments in human history, including the invention of the wheel and planting the first cereal crops in the development of conceived and script, mathematics, dentistry and agriculture, agriculture. Okay, that was it, guys. So let's take a picture. Let's look at what happened in the Mesopotamian ancient warfare between the civilizations and, I would say, civilization Babylonian or the Greek. So Mesopotamia was part of the Greek. I never noticed before. Mesopotamia, part of the Greek. I look at the Peloponnesian War. Is similar to the Mesopotamia. So we have the ziggurat. Something like this, guys. This is what happened. Part of the Greek. Back in ancient time, guys, it's like, you gotta remember that it's just ancient times. This is how it's done. I'm pretty sure they really had slavery back then, because they must have protect all their people from dangers, making a lot of tools, making a lot of traditional weapons to survive in a war like this back in the BC and the AD. The ziggurats, the animals, the ancient patterns and buildings here, and the patterns. So it's almost next to Arabia. Let's say Iraq, Arabia, Turkey. And it looks like Egypt as well, so it's Mesopotamia. Ancient Babylonians. They only have their own religion as well. I don't know what their religion is. They must have studied so hard. The ancient civilizations, they made a lot of statues that almost look like Buddhism or something. They made a lot of statues, old traditional statues, very, very old traditional statues from years, millions of years ago. It was just millions of years ago before. It's not like, I mean, we wasn't even born. I mean, I wasn't even born when this all came out. I was only born in the 2000s. But these were made millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years ago. Yet thousands of years ago. So, I mean, that's how it all started. Ancient Mesopotamia. It's similar to the Egyptian way and the Greek way and the Babylonian way. See. But I think one of these countries were very, very dangerous to even survive in this kind of country back then, because one of these countries were very, very dangerous. I can tell you that pretty much. They were very, very dangerous. There were a lot of wars, especially ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. Ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient Mesopotamia, Persia, dangerous countries that started this war, or the Trojans. So let's look up the Trojans. We're gonna look up, is the Trojans a part of the Greeks? So we're gonna type that in right now. Is the Trojans part of the Greeks? Simple question. Let's see. Is the Trojans part of the Greek? So, if not, it's probably the Spartans or the Romans. But is the Trojan part of the Greek? Let's read it. Let's start with this. The name of the Troy refers both to a place in legend and a real life at the local state. In legend, Troy is the city that is besieged for 10 years. Only 10 years. Dang, man. And eventually captured by a Greek army. It was the Greek. Similar. Interested. Lead by the Gamian. And the reason for this Trojan War was, according to Homer Lockhart, the abduction of Helen and Queen from Sparta. So it's part of the Greeks, part of Sparta. So Trojans, part of Sparta. What side, or let's read these questions. What is the recipe of the Trojans? Remember that I had to do something like this on my Kratos and God of War marathon on the MDiki. It was on Wrecked Survival Sim, guys. I made something like this. I just made something like this. I made like characters that look like ancient Egyptian warriors and Mesopotamian Babylonian warriors, and also Titans and Greek gods. And I made those characters and played the video game on my YouTube channel. You can go check it out. It's called the Kratos Marathon on Johnny Nobise. Just type in Johnny Nobise Kratos or Johnny Nobise Kratos Marathon, and you'll see that I did something. I made something similar because it's kind of appealing. It's really kind of appealing. You should check it out. I made a movie about it. I put some of the songs I'm hearing right now on it too. So go check it out and make sure you enjoy the film. All of the films, which is it has Zeus in there, and also between it, Mama Medusa. But it also has Kratos and God of War Marathon. You can go check it all out. And I also made the Titans of the Olympus, which is a very good one, and it was probably the last Kratos. Titans of the Olympus. Origins, the finest of the Duranoi of the Dardanoi and of the Trojans, a nature of their language, maintain the mystery, the main remains of their marital or material culture. Review close ties with Luran and Orthodoan groups, Thracians and Greek content. Now we have did the Trojans speak Greek? Trojan language, the language spoken by the Trojans in the Homeric Greek. However, there was been some scholarly debate on what language the historical Trojans would have spoken at the time of the Trojan War, which identified by the Trovulia. What side was Achilles and in the Trojan War? Achilles, what is this swift-footed warrior is the greatest on the Greek side. His father Pelpius and the warrior on his own right, and his mother Thetis in the sea knitted the consequences of the Achilles raged by the Agamemnon for Cophoston by Garia's price of honor. How there are the subject of Laureate. Who won the Trojan War? The Trojan War in Greek mythology, war between the Greeks and the people of Troy. The strife began after the Trojan prize. Paris and adopted Hellenian wife Medocea of Sparta and Melius demand her return to the Trojans refused. Malleus and persuaded his brother Agamemnon in to the lead an army against Troy. Trojans from Troy. In Greek mythology, the Trojan War was launched against the city of Troy. Athenians, Greeks, after Paris and Troy took Helen for her husband, Lamius, king of Sparta. Are the Spartans Greek? Okay, the Spartans Greek. Sparta was the warrior of society of ancient Greece, and there reached the height of this war after defeating rival city-state Athens in the Peloponnesian War 431 through 404 BC. The Spartan culture was centered in the loyalty to the state of the military service. What did the Spartans speak? The language spoken in Sparta was an ancient Greek, delicate or delicate, or also known as Doric Greek. Did Achilles have a son? So Melius L.E. a younger warrior, his son of Achilles, Achilles, and Deimia, the daughter of Lucamus was called the Paureus. According to the some, however, he was the son of Achilles and Phrygia, and after the sacrifice, his mother and carried his father to the island of Cyprus. Who's the strongest Greek hero? The strongest Greek hero. Achilles. The infant Achilles' mother dipped him into the river Styx, which made him a venerable. However, but the hill he swept which held him. Hercules, Hector, Jason. That had Jason in there. Wow. Octavius, Zeus. I couldn't name all of these Greek heroes on the Kratos Marathon. I forgot. There were more than just Zeus and Achilles and Hercules and whatever. These were part of the Greeks. I should have named them on the Kratos and the God of War, but I forgot. But it's still a good film. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna delete it. I'm not gonna start over. It's still a good film that I made. More items. Perithos and Arenans. Wow. So the Greek was very interesting, guys. And it was something like this. It must have really gone bad back then, way back, millions of, way back, centuries ago. This was centuries ago. This was centuries. It's kind of loading slow, so let's still watch one of them. Let's go back to the video.
Everything. They invented writing and the wheel. They divided time into minutes and seconds. They tamed nature and built gigantic cities. They loved culture and the arts. Their caravans crossed the desert. They tamed nature and built gigantic cities. They loved culture and the arts. Their caravans crossed the desert, opening up the first trade routes. Their stories inspired our founding myths, and their memory lives on in the Old Testament. They wrote the history of the birth pangs of mankind. Yet 4,000 years ago, this brilliant civilization died out. For a long time, its very existence remained a mystery. But today, the desert sands are at last yielding some of the secrets of this fascinating civilization. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, and the name of the second river is Gihon, and the name of the third river is Tigris. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden, to dress it and to keep it. In southern Iraq, a crushing silence hangs over the dunes. The temperature is around the 50-degree mark. The climate has not changed for thousands of years. Yet men and women once lived here. Sandwiched between the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf is the region that the Greek historian Polybius called Mesopotamia, the country between two rivers. It was irrigated by the Euphrates and the Tigris. In the mid-19th century, all we knew of ancient Mesopotamia was what we read in the Bible. French and British archaeologists competed to discover more, and their finds were amazing. They uncovered an unsuspected, buried past. Mesopotamia had once been the cradle of a civilization. But what was so special about these finds? And why did a civilization develop in that part of the world at all?
Ce qui est exceptionnel dans la découverte de la civilisation syro-mésopotamienne, qui ne se fait que depuis un siècle et demi, il faut bien en prendre conscience. Ce qui était exceptionnel, c'est qu'on s'est aperçu progressivement qu'il s'agissait d'un monde extrêmement diversifié, extrêmement développé, et qui, au fond, avait expérimenté déjà beaucoup de modes de vie, beaucoup d'expériences sociales dans un univers que nous ne connaissions pas. Nous avions l'impression que tout commençait avec la civilisation grecque, et on s'est aperçu qu'il y avait eu quelque chose avant, et que cet avant avait eu une influence sur le devenir de la civilisation à l'époque classique. L'histoire de la civilisation syro-mésopotamienne correspond au domaine géographique syro-mésopotamien, c'est-à-dire le domaine qui est drainé par les deux fleuves, le Tigre et l'Euphrate. Mais il y a autre chose, ce n'est pas simplement l'eau pour la vie, l'eau pour la culture, l'eau pour les hommes, c'est aussi l'eau pour le transport. Et ce sont des domaines où les axes des fleuves sont devenus des axes de transport. Et dans un pays comme la Mésopotamie, où il y a des productions agricoles, mais où il y a des lacunes fondamentales, on manque de bois, on manque de pierre, on manque de minerais métalliques lorsqu'il y aura besoin en bronze, en cuivre, eh bien, dans un pays comme celui-là, le fleuve va devenir l'axe de transport privilégié entre deux domaines d'économie différentes et complémentaires.
Our journey begins in the mountains of Armenia, where the Tigris and the Euphrates both rise. Fed by melting snow from the high plateaus, the rivers tumble down the mountain slopes, tearing away tons of silt as they go. They run 1 parallel for over 2,000 kilometers, then merge to form the Shatt al-Arab waterway. rivers are calmer in the wide desert plains to the south. They deposit fertile soil all the way to the Persian Gulf. But the Tigris and the Euphrates could also be a terrible enemy. The spring floods would sweep away everything in their path. How were people able to settle a land that was so vulnerable to the whims of nature? That question takes us to Baghdad, the Iraqi capital on the banks of the Tigris. In the narrow streets of the old city, the visitor is steeped in the scents of the Orient. Dense crowds and a cheerful tumult are all around. In the colourful bazaars, Iraqis display their ancient talent for commerce. The heritage of the Sumerian civilization is everywhere. The markets have sold the same for commerce. The heritage of the Sumerian civilization is everywhere. The markets have sold the same varieties of fruit and vegetables for thousands of years. In the cool of the arcades, you can buy pomegranates from northern Iran and the yogurt that the Mesopotamians were specially fond of. On street corners, there are earthenware pots of drinking water. The water beads on the surface of the jar and, in evaporating, keeps the water within cool. A Sumerian invention 5,000 years old. But who were the Sumerians? Where did they come from? On the fertile plateaus of Anatolia, several thousand kilometers from Mesopotamia, archaeologists have solved one part of the Sumerian puzzle. They discovered what made it possible for the population to expand and found a civilization. It was einkorn wheat, which grows wild throughout eastern Turkey. People have lived in this fertile region at the crossroads of great migration routes since time immemorial. Tribes of hunter-gatherers found everything here that they needed for their survival. The Kurds keep up the age-old traditions. Every day the women cook such ekmeği, a wheat pancake that forms the whole family's staple diet.
It's a mascot. It's a mascot.
In 1958, archaeologists discovered the 9,000-year-old ruins of the village of Chayernu. 3,500 years before Sumer, people settled on this fertile land. They didn't yet make ceramics, but they were builders. Their houses had mud brick walls on dry stone foundations.
Answer is my first attempt to guess as a bear. Maybe a cattle character. Cattle.
One day, the people of Chayernu made a discovery that would change the world.
Lorsque se crée vers 15 000 avant Jésus-Christ, dans ces régions des collines, dans ces régions de l'Euphrate, à son entrée en Syrie, lorsque se crée cette situation très particulière qui fait que les collines de ces régions se couvrent de cette graminée sauvage qui va permettre aux hommes de se sédentariser, c'est évidemment un élément extrêmement nouveau. Quand ils ont découvert que cette graminée produisait une graine qui pouvait être utilisée, qui avait surtout l'énorme avantage de se conserver, la conservation du produit alimentaire a joué un rôle essentiel parce que ça voulait dire qu'au lieu d'être obligé de retrouver de la nourriture 3 jours après avoir abattu une bête, eh bien on pouvait se dire qu'on en avait pour plusieurs semaines ou plusieurs mois de réserve devant soi. Et à partir de ce moment-là, les conditions changent et l'homme quand il se rend compte qu'il a ce produit, il va rester à côté de ce produit. Bien entendu, ce produit ne se récolte qu'à un moment très précis de l'année, mais on ne peut pas le transporter. Une fois qu'on l'a récolté, il faut le garder c'est un stock. Il faut le protéger, ce stock. Il faut empêcher les autres de venir prendre. Donc, la sédentarisation se fait à un moment donné dans cette région-là pour une raison très précise, c'est-à-dire la conservation d'un stock alimentaire que l'on peut récolter à un certain moment. Et là, bien entendu, l'esprit humain va jouer un rôle fondamental. On peut parler de découverte accidentelle. Je crois que l'esprit humain, il joue constamment sur des observations, sur des
He's probably speaking that Greek language. The Greek.
découverte exceptionnelle, une fois, 2 fois, répétée, sur une recherche d'explication de ce phénomène, jusqu'au moment où il est capable, par lui-même,
I can understand it a little bit, my friend.
Au-delà et de réaliser quelque chose de nouveau. Et c'est comme ça qu'est née l'agriculture.
As they set about mastering their environment, these first farmers were full of invention. They developed their tools, they bettered their daily lives, and they left behind a legacy of immense importance. Writing. Cereals were the main source of wealth for the Sumerian civilization.
Yeah, well, very good. Good night. I love you too. Sweet dreams. See you.
She loved me. Yay.
This alabaster vase, more than a meter high, depicts the Sumerians' gratitude towards nature. It also expresses their religious fervor. The vegetable and animal worlds are represented as ears of wheat and herds of sheep. A procession of men bearing offerings approaches the sanctuary of Inanna, the goddess of heaven and earth. The pilgrims are welcomed by the high priest in his robes.
Bạn nấu ăn được chưa?
Bạn nấu ăn được chưa?
Bạn nấu ăn được chưa?
Thanks to these successes in agriculture, the population grew. The first groups began to colonize land along the rivers all the way to the great plain of Mesopotamia. The main preoccupation of the farmers was finding ways to boost their production of crops. This clay tablet shows a device for more economical sowing. The seeds are deposited via a funnel that ensures regular, even distribution in the furrows. The Sumerian secret lay in taming their unpredictable sources of water.
I think I can cook, but I forgot how to.
Is a bird trying to eat the ground, but I take the ground away from him. Here. Have my poor image that I want to.
For in Mesopotamia, the balance between man and nature could easily tip against man. To take control of their water, the Sumerians invented the wheel, and they dug hundreds of kilometers of irrigation canals, reservoirs and dams. Irrigation was the mainstay of the Sumerian civilization. By subduing the turbulent waters of the Tigris and the Euphrates, they turned the power of nature to their own use. The farmers reaped the benefits with bountiful crops from hundreds of thousands of hectares of fertilized land. In some areas, wheat, millet and barley were harvested twice a year. In the oases along the irrigation canals, millions of palm trees grew as far as the eye could see. It's the same when the Tigris and the Euphrates merge to form a single body of water, the Shat al-Arab waterway. On each side of the Shat al-Arab, an agricultural province prospers thanks to the bountiful water from the two great rivers. Only barges can reach the heart of this maze of tall reeds.
Tôi muốn học cách nấu gà y oan learn how to cook chicken.
The people
Tôi muốn học cách nấu gà y oan learn how to cook chicken.
still live as their ancestors did. They
Tôi
still
muốn
build
học
the
cách
real
nấu
house
gà y
just
oan
like the
learn
ones
how
seen
to
in
cook
ancient bas
chicken.
reliefs.
Chicken.
The huts stand on a foundation of layers of
Really
soil,
love chicken.
interlaced with braided reeds. The floor, roof and walls are
Tôi thực sự yêu gà.
Tôi thực sự yêu gà. Tôi thực sự
made of interwoven stalks. The supporting columns and
Tôi thực
beams,
sự yêu
very
gà.
strong,
Tôi
are
thực
made
sự
of tightly
yêu
packed
gà.
Tôi thực sự yêu gà.
Tôi
wheat
thực sự
bundles.
yêu gà. Tôi thực sự yêu gà.
Tôi muốn học cách
Five
nấu gà
thousand
y
years
oan
ago.
learn how to. Tôi muốn học cách nấu gà y oan learn how to cook chicken. Tôi muốn học cách nấu gà y oan learn how to cook chicken.
Chicken.
Tôi muốn học cách nấu gà y oan learn how.
Tôi muốn học cách
nấu
người
gà
lớn
y
video
oan
on
learn
my
how to cook
YouTube
chicken.
channel.
lived in the marshland around the port city of Ur. In their frail reed boats, they had made a huge area habitable, 1 meter at a time.
Ugoren from Vietnam.
And they said one to another, "Let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, "Let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven." The first archaeologists to see the ruins of Ur must have been speechless. Before them lay narrow streets, squares, and the remains of houses, granaries, and temples. 5,000 years ago, when Western Europe was still in the Stone Age, this was a city of 34,000 people. When they built cities like Ur, the Mesopotamians were shaping the world in their own image.
La transformation du monde, de l'environnement par les habitants de la Mésopotamie est un phénomène fondamental. Ils ne se sont pas simplement contentés de créer des villages, ils ils ont implanté des zones de culture. Par la suite, à l'époque des villes, ils ne se sont pas contentés de laisser pousser des villes, ils ont aménagé la région. Et le mode de vie qu'ils ont développé était un mode de vie de domination de la nature. Et ça, c'est quelque chose de tout à fait étonnant. Je ne pense pas toujours. Ils ont dominé leur nature pour arriver à la mettre au service de leur survie.
Made to last, with fired bricks covered in tar, the ziggurat of Ur is impressive. It's estimated that it took 1,500 men 5 years just to build its base. Farmers up to 20 kilometers away could see the house of their god. Drawings done by the British archaeologist Leonard Woolley in the early 20th century help us imagine what Ur looked like 4,000 years ago. This immense city was surrounded by 4,000 hectares of cereal field. Traders from the Persian Gulf sailed into its harbour and exported food to the Arabian Peninsula, several thousand kilometers away. The daily life of the city centered on the temple, where the people prayed and political and economic decisions were taken.
Ban bữa lắm mệt cười.
Bạn muốn làm món gì?
Bạn muốn làm món gì?
Bạn muốn làm món gì?
Bạn muốn làm món gì? Bạn muốn làm món gì?
Behind an 8-meter-high city wall, the houses were haphazardly piled up. The streets were narrow, winding, and unsewered. Garbage was burnt outside the house when it wasn't simply left on the road. 3-story buildings jostled with...
Nếu mình biết mình sẽ chỉ bạn.
Nếu mình biết
mình sẽ chỉ bạn.
Nếu mình biết nên dính trên bàn.
single-story ones, and none of the houses was aligned with its neighbours. Their facades had no openings, just low doors and a few air vents, in order to keep the interior cool and to keep the dust clouds out.
Bạn muốn làm món gì hoặc chỉ cần lên mạng là được.
Nếu mình biết mình sẽ chỉ bạn.
Nếu mình biết nhớ rồi chỉ bạn.
Nếu mình biết mình sẽ chỉ bạn.
Nếu mình biết mình sẽ chỉ bạn.
For a long time, little was
Nếu
known
mình
of
biết
life
mình
in
sẽ
Earth.
chỉ bạn.
Leonard Woolley had spent years excavating the ruins when, in 1926, he discovered what was dubbed the Death Pit. It was the tomb of Queen Pu Abbey and of more than 20 servants and soldiers who were sacrificed and buried with her in order to serve her in the afterlife. Among the skeletons covered in gold and silver, Woolley found this, the so-called Standard of Ur. Its mother of pearl figures show Sumerian fishermen, slaves and soldiers walking for eternity against a
Okay, so that was all for today, guys. I watched you a little bit of video about the Peloponnesian War and the Mesopotamia. We're going to take a look at these pictures to see what have happened to the Mesopotamians or the Trojans or the Peloponnesian War. How it all started in ancient times. One more time again before we leave out on you today. And thanks for watching our philosophy. This is my second philosophy. It was the making of the Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia, for our philosophy. My second philosophy, ancient Mesopotamia. Alright. Bạn muốn làm món gì? Vậy bạn muốn làm món gì? Vậy bạn muốn làm gì? Alright. Can't find any. Sparta. Athens versus Sparta, guys. That's what I said. I'm looking at Trojans. We saw look at the picture of what Mesopotamia really looked like. Let's see what Trojans look like. The Trojans are like the part of the Greeks. So as you can see here, guys, this is how it looked back in the day. Traditional ancient warfare times. Traditional ancient warfare times. Next to Olympus, I would say this is their territory here. Their territory is Athens, Greece, Troy. I think the Romans, right? The territory is Greek seas. I think that's their territory. Athens, Greece, the Persians territory. So if they buck up into one of these guys, we already know it's a battle. We already know that they're just having an argument with the Greeks, these Trojans, and with the Romans or the Spartans, whatever. They're just having a little bit of argument with these guys, and they want to kill them. They want to they just want to kill these guys, you know. It's a serious war. going on in ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, back in the BC and in the AD. This was the ultimate Greek war. I'll tell you why. The Greek war, a horrible war. It was a chaos. Now we're gonna type in all of the Greek members and the Titans into it, and then we'll stop from there, guys. Kratos, Zeus, Kratos, right? So, Kratos, part of the Greek mythology. Kratos. Kratos is part of the Greek mythology. Demo is his brother in ancient Sparta. The Spartan warrior Kratos is the ultimate Spartan warrior that fought in ancient times and tried to survive in a fight, tried to survive in a war for millions and millions of years ago. Not an easy task back then. It was not an easy war to win it all. There were just a lot of soldiers in there. A lot of soldiers, the Ethiopians, Achilles. You have, and what's that word? Utopia in the Greek charity, whatever. They have the Trojans, they have the Spartans, the Romans into it. It's not an easy task. And we should have known that it wasn't an easy task, guys. It was a hard war, difficult, horrible war with all the horrors in it. Kratos spent his years of life thinking about the past and what he did to his family. Accidentally killed his family and stuff. And going through the horrors until it was all over. Until all of the wars were all over. It was a lot of years trying to survive in a difficult time back then. In the Peloponnesian War. I can tell you that pretty much. It's not an easy task. It was not. I know, must have really had a little fatal hit there in Socrates. So what's our Greek member or Titan member? Our Greek member we have also is Socrates. Probably guys need to know what Socrates was. Greek member. Socrates here. I think he was an old man. an old man. So Socrates, part of the Greek philosophers. These were the Greek philosophers. Plato and Socrates, the Greek philosophers. Those were the Greek philosophers. So the Mesopotamia, guys, is part of the Greek mythology. Part of the Greek ancestors. I'm not sure of. It's just too traditional, too old school. There's got a lot to learn about Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia. A lot of traditional stuff being made. A lot of statues, ancient statues, patterns, writings, symbols. You know, maybe religious symbols. And we'll never forget that one of these guys also fought in a war. So thank you for your help, guys. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching my philosophy about Mesopotamia and the civilizations. And hopefully you enjoy this wonderful and amazing philosophy, my second philosophy of Wade, of Johnny Nobise. Because Johnny Nobise is all about the historical ways and science. Never do too much of the science. Science about, I need to do a science philosophy about insects and roaches and cockroaches and stuff. Or just need to do science. I'm all about his history and science. For Wade, not Wade. So it's for Johnny Nobise. Thanks for watching the philosophy, and I will see you next time, guys. Stay safe. See you later.